Hi everyone, this is my 6.3 vlog and the question is, what have you learned from your audience feedback? So in the evaluation section we had to gain feedback for our assemble edit in order to help us progress further to our final edit, and we also had to use a SurveyMonkey in order to get feedback on our auxiliary tasks consisting of vinyl cover and album advert. So for the music video, most of the comments were actually pretty positive. Not a lot of them were negative. Someone said that our pans were very good and controlled, and this was great for us because actually the majority of the video is filled with pans to help it give it a flowing sense. It goes with the guitar in it because it's very slow and light, so as each frame flows onto the next one. And that someone else said that our cinematography was very similar to the original one because I put the other video that they had made, the only one they've ever made, on the lino so that people would be able to compare it to our one. And a lot of people said that our cinematography were very similar to their actual video, which is great because that means that we are spot on with our branding and the idea of American football themselves. Some of the other comments that we made improvements on are things such as we needed to put more items and video to the actual beat of the music because at first we didn't actually have much video going to any of the beat because it's not the most regular of beats. It becomes more regular when there's a chorus, which there is then the introduction of beats from drums and cymbals, but a lot of it is purely based on guitars, and this changes quite a lot for quite a long song. So like I said, in the chorus beats become more regular, so in our final piece we actually added in some instrumental pieces to actually go with that beat rather than making it quite plain and not actually having anything go to the beat. It actually uplifts it quite a bit, which I thought was great. Another comment was that they wanted a greater sense of narrative or greater sense of performance. These were very controversial points because although American football have a narrative in their first video, it's not necessarily clear what the narrative is. It is very open to interpretation, and this is the idea that we wanted to take on. So from the general public or audience, people actually wanted a greater narrative to enable them to follow the music, whereas fans actually didn't want that. So we stuck more with the fans as they knew the branding, and we'd done our research on the branding. That's what we decided to do. On the greater performance element, we do have a performance element in it. It's a male by himself. He doesn't necessarily have a clear structure. He's meant to seem lost and like his life's very repetitive. This again was another controversial point because we didn't necessarily need to have the performance element because that is not what American football are about. They don't focus on personnel or performance element. It's more about natural landscapes or close-ups of nature footage or anything that could be seen as calm rather than a person themselves. They don't like to tell a story necessarily through people. They rather show it by the surroundings. So these 2 points were very controversial, and we did look into it, and we found that we wanted to stick more to the branding. So we took the points on board, and we did try and add a greater sense of narrative with beats and tones of the actual video. We took the tones down to make it more sad compared to that other video, which is quite bright. But with the performance element, we didn't want to add any more in than we already had because we thought that that was enough. We also had to get feedback on the auxiliaries, like I said. we did this for a simple questionnaire of yes and no questions, and you could add more if you wanted. Most people answered yes and no. The good comments were that it matches the music video quite well, so we stuck to our branding, and the nature images that I'd chosen and taken to edit to put on the front cover and the back cover. People loved those. They thought they were nice. They liked the fact that the colours contrast from the back to the front. They say that they were aesthetically pleasing, as well as the poster. Got quite a lot of nice comments on the poster, despite it actually challenging their branding. One person did say, however, they're not sure that actually fits in with the branding. That was a fan of the band themselves. However, I think that it still sticks to their simplicity and subtleness, because it's not necessarily an actual person. It could be a made-up drawing of a simple person. We're not actually sure who it is, so it doesn't necessarily give the person on the image a purpose. It's not like it's one of them band members, even though they have put themselves on their tour posters. So inevitably I mixed both of their sorts of posters together, and I thought that was actually quite effective. So I left the poster actually how it was, because it still stuck to the branding of simplicity and consistency with being subtle. And overall, they thought that generally everything actually just matched the band's identity. There wasn't that many bad comments about the auxiliary tasks. There was a couple about colours, possibly. Obviously, I've done the contrasting colours. Some people loved it, some people hated it. Most of it was 50-50. It just was whether what I thought was best due to research and what I wanted to do for the band as to what I actually went with.